when I first met Rinpoche, Tulku Urgyen Rinpoche, was way before I went to Nagi Gompa, actually, like almost 2 years before I went to Nagi Gompa. And at that time, I remember Rinpoche was just back from his pilgrimage tour to Maratika. So, and I was a little girl. My parent took me there to see, because he already knew about me from a relative of mine who actually already requested him to accept me as his student in one of the nun in his nunnery in Nagi Gompa. So I was very much excited about the fact that I'm going out of my parents' house. So when I met him, and he was so kind and gave me blessing, and then he made it very much clear to my parents that he will be very much waiting for me. But then somehow my parents could not send me right away, and it took me another 2 years. And in between, I do remember very clearly that he's kept on sending messages to my parents about, me to be sent to Nagi Gompa soon. And in fact, I even dreamt of him coming in a helicopter, nearby my house. And then I was told by some kind of a voice in my dream saying that Tulku Urgyen Rinpoche is there to fetch me, take me to Nagi Gompa.
That's amazing.
So I was very much into it. And then, of course, then I started making very clear physical gestures and towards my parents, and I was very stubborn, and I stopped doing a lot of the works that I am supposed to do. Even though my father was very strict and very, let's say, violent in the way he made me do things. So in spite of all those things, I kept on saying that I will stop doing all of these things. I need to go to Nagi Gompa. So, and then finally they got fed up. Especially my father got fed up of me, and then he decided to take me to Nagi Gompa. And I was 13 years old at that time, and then I was so happy. And when I reached Nagi Gompa, of course, the landscape itself is so beautiful and so special. But at the same time, it was very, very heartwarming, when I saw Rinpoche being so, accepting me and full of kindness and compassion towards me. And he looked very happy to receive me actually in Nagi Gompa. And then to get rid of my hair was very, very special. And
Why?
And then the most exciting thing I can think of at that time is, besides seeing Rinpoche, of course, getting his blessing and then being accepted as one of his nun, I received a room for myself, as my own room, and that was the most exciting part. But at the same time, very scared to sleep alone, because before that, I've never slept alone myself. So, yeah.
So it was your own wish to become a nun, no? It was
very much. I was always kind of traumatized by the fear of having to get married when I grow up. I had no idea about how old I get to grow up, because it was my father who always made the decision in the family. So, as I knew that my father and my mother had the age gap of 25 years, so so somewhere there was a fear in me. So even though I was young, and the unpleasant environment that I was experiencing at home was something that was really, really strongly pushing me to look towards escaping that place.
And did you become an attendant for Tulku Urgyen Rinpoche immediately, or did it take some years?
No, he just took me right away. He gave me a room just very close to his room. The room used to be so tiny, And then the entrance door to my room was also very small, as I was very small. But the door was also the size of a window. Actually, I remember so clearly. I don't know if Heidi, you remember that room.
I think I do. Yeah, I think I remember. It's in the
Yeah.
where Choying Rinpoche's room was. Then I think. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
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 So you immediately developed a very close relationship with Tulku Urgyen Rinpoche, no?
I mean, more than myself, I think Tulku Urgyen Rinpoche himself was very clear about who I am, and then I think he just said she's going to be one of my attendant. I mean, though I really did not know what to do for him, but I slowly was taught to. I mean, of course, I knew how to do cleaning and so on. But first job or responsibility that I was given as an attendant to him was to make the offering, water offering to his the living room, the somche in the shrine, and then clean the offering bowls and then clean the room and so on. So that was my job. And I was so lazy to do those things because I was not used to do all that kind of work. I was more used to do the cooking, cleaning, dishwashing and so on. But yeah.
So did you immediately then also start to receive teachings, or did that only start later?
You see, I was never really called for a class like a formal classes to be taught, to be trained by him. But there used to be a lot of teaching sessions going on for the Western students, because what I remembered very clearly, the Western students were very, very diligent and very eager to always request Rinpoche for teaching, frequent teachings, and so on. So sometimes I used to sit for that kind of teachings and try to figure out what I could understand from him.
And did he immediately start to teach you to sing, or was this more?
No. Actually, for a few years, actually, I was very much carried away by the environment. It was so free. Nobody was beating me up. I I I did not have to wake up so early in the morning, because at home I used to wake up very early and my help my mom, to do the cooking, cleaning, all these things, taking care of my younger brothers and so on. So at Nagi Gompa, I was like, I was, for the first time, I heard that I was a child and it's okay to play. At home, whenever I used to get a little bit distracted by other kids in the neighborhood, to play a little, and then you would never know that when my dad would just grab me from my hair and drag home. So, and at Nagi Gompa, there was totally the opposite scenario. Rinpoche was so kind all the time, and he literally treated me like a child. And in fact, I remember many occasions when I playing, whenever they used to complain to Rinpoche about me becoming very naughty and not doing taking care of my responsibilities, uh, and then he would just say, leave her alone, she's just a kid. And that, what I heard from Rinpoche, made me feel so good. I think that treatment from Rinpoche actually slowly healed me, because, and I now more and more I understand when I reflect back, I feel like Rinpoche knew that I was a very injured child and I needed to be handled with very much care, and I needed to be healed. So um, all the love and care that I received from him slowly actually healed me. So otherwise, I was really like a very wild and very unhappy child at the very beginning when I was in Nagi Gompa. And then suddenly I received this big platform where I can run around and play around and be, so free, and I was so naively innocent, and slowly I was a little bit pampered. I was feeling like I'm very much pampered, and by Rinpoche's kindness and his love, and Mayumla's kindness and her love. And I used to be not so respectful towards my other senior nuns, so which I regret today very much. And to tell you the truth, since now 5-6 years, I've been always, every time I meet my senior nuns, I always keep on repeatedly asking for their forgiveness, for the very naughty behavior that I had those days, and very disrespectfully I treated them occasionally, and I deeply regret it.
I understand. Would you mind sharing with us the naughtiest thing you did? or you don't have to.
Well, the senior nuns used to expect me to share some of the responsibilities at Rinpoche's place, like and a lot of the time, what I used to irritate them with is that, especially like I remember Anitara, she used to cook for all the guests and all the shapchis, and those days we used to have the wood fire, and and then we would have a small, like a bamboo kind of a container, which is like called nanglo, where she used to filter the rice from the, what do you call, the haze, the bushes, and I use, and she does it in such a convenience and expertise, like she does it so nicely. And I used to look at her and then feel like, oh, I can do that. And then I would just go and do it, and I would have half of the rice on the floor, and she used to get so mad at me, and I would run away. So somehow I used to irritate her so much like that. And yeah, I wasn't so easy to be dealt with.
But I think Tulku Urgyen Rinpoche never scolded you,
No, at the very early stage of my life in Nagi Gompa, Rinpoche never scolded. And in fact, I remember very clearly, if he had to scold me, he would use another nun to scold and to indicate that point to me. I don't, Heidi, you know Anisonamla?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
Manangi Ani.
Yes.
And every evening after the dinner, we would go to Rinpoche's room, and some of the nuns, they would offer some oil massage to his feet and to his arms. And while doing that, and then I remember a few naughty activities that I engaged myself into. And then one day I remember, and he started scolding Anisonam, telling her everything what I did. And
Really?
I was like, and I could get what it is coming. I mean, like what he's talking about, and he wasn't really talking to me. He was actually scolding Anisonam,
Okay.
But somehow I knew that it was for me. So he was trying to be very careful not to scare me, or not to make sure that I get to understand things without being scared and traumatized.
Yeah, that's really amazing.
Yes, very, very kind. I mean, today at this age, now every of his skillful way of dealing with my condition, it really moist my eyes, actually.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, you were really lucky too.
I'm so blessed.
Yeah. So what was it like being around Tulku Urgyen Rinpoche on a daily basis, and what was his daily schedule like?
You see, I think because I was very young, I never was able to look at him as I do now when I think of him. I was a very wild kid, and he was he was a sense of security for me, and sense of comfort, and whenever I was with him, he made me feel so safe and so loved and so much cared. And he made me feel I'm special. I'm very special. And so as I was a kid, so I got carried away by a little bit of arrogance, thinking that I am special, as not only Tulku Urgyen Rinpoche himself treated me special, but also Mayumla treated me so special. And like whenever we went to Asura, as Mayumla was residing there, she would always make me sleep in her room.
Wow.
And in the night, as I was young, my blanket would drop down. In the middle of night, she would get up and she would put the blanket on me back.
Really?
And then the next morning, when Mayumla and Rinpoche are together, and if I enter the room, she would just complain to Rinpoche, last night Choying was dropping her blanket so much down, no matter how much I put it on her back, So yeah, so I'm so blessed,
And
yeah, so I mean, besides me being so naive and not matured enough, I wasn't able to look at him as like a really the guru that I do feel deep down in my heart about him now in my life. Those days, I just took him as some like kind of a refuge where I can feel the most protected and I feel most safe and loved and cared. And anytime I wanted to boost my ego or I wanted to feel special, I would always go to his room, and he never failed to make me feel so special. Yeah. Yes.
so when did you start to develop this kind of teacher relationship with him?
I think slowly I fell in love with him, actually. And when I slowly realized, I felt that I love him now. Slowly, I was loving him more and more. And when you love someone, it seems like you care about this person. So, and slowly, I realized now that my senior nuns, some of the senior nuns, would always complain to him about my very naughty behaviors and very, irritating behaviors occasionally. And I was regretting about that, and I was trying to find ways how I can prevent that. So in order to do that, so sometime whenever when some of the senior nuns try to be a little bit bullying towards me, or they would occasionally try to discipline me. So which I was totally the opposite. So I would usually like argue back disrespectfully. So I slowly started controlling that thing. I slowly try to not to respond or argue back. But sometimes I would get so angry, and in order to let it out, I would just run into the jungle and then scream it out, all the anger, just. So I used to look always slowly. I was more and more trying to find ways to prevent these senior nuns from having to complain to Rinpoche about me. Though I knew that he would not scold me or punish me, but somehow I realized that I wanted him to hear good things about me. I slowly developed this desire to make him feel good about me and proud of me, kind of that. So in order to do that, so I started controlling my aggressive behavior, and slowly try to make more friends and so on. So yeah, that's how it was.
What is the one piece of advice given to you from Tulku Urgyen Rinpoche that you hold most dear in your heart?
I don't know how you translate this. There was a time when I was so much eager to go to Varanasi University. Thorin Lobda, Heidi? In Varanasi, there is a university for higher Buddhist studies, academic Buddhist studies. somewhere deep inside, I had a very strong desire and hunger to academically study, to be educated, because I was very much inspired or attracted towards these kempos and scholars who really had so much knowledge and wisdom. So, and at the same time, I would ask questions: why we as nuns, we don't have many any kempos or scholars who would give teaching, who are capable of giving teachings and so on. So that kind of a question was always there in my mind. So, and deep inside, I started slowly developing this desire to go to university. And I requested to, the first time when I requested him to give me permission to go to university in Varanasi, and he just ignored me a little bit. And then I asked again, and then he says, "Oh, you poor girl, I can totally understand. You're tired of, taking care of me." By then, I was able to, serve him as a nurse because of my little knowledge of English. So I was trained actually to check his blood pressure, check his blood sugar, and check if there are some water in his lungs, and check his urine output, and then uh, liquid input, and so on. So I used to write down the reports and update the doctors, and of course, and then our Andreas Kretschmer, the most dearest student of Tuguji Rinpoche, who really served Tuguji Rinpoche like a son, and he would be in charge of all of these things. But then I was there to do it, and I would offer him the insulins before the meals, and I have plugged a lot of needles in his finger, to draw bloods to do the blood sugar test. So yeah, that kind of thing I used to do. So Rinpoche was like kind of saying, "Oh, you're tired of taking care of this old man, So I can totally understand now. You want to get rid of me." And then immediately I cried and said, "No, Rinpoche, that's not what I meant. I just wanted to study." And then he said, "Okay, but you be clear in your mind. I will not even let you go this much, this far, like this distance, like like 6 inches away." So and then I was so sad. And when he realized that I was so sad, and then that time he gave me one advice, as maybe Heidila, you can translate. I don't know how to say it in English. Ame jashi chikdo changing mare chikshi control gore chikshi
Mhm.
control gores
Mhm.
chikshi control jashi chikdu mache right?
And
So
yeah, 100 knowing 100 things won't do you any good. Knowing one thing that liberates everything, that is the most important. Yeah, it
yeah,
comes
so
down to that.
and that and now more and more coming to this age and stage of life, I totally understand what it means. And at that time also, even though I was young, I was trying to understand it. So I somehow, as I did not receive the permission, so I could not go to university. But I used to do a lot of self studies, in those days. That's how I did a lot of self studies. And if any Western students comes along, I would approach them to help me out to understand more of. And that's, like, I was very much into improving my English at that time also. So that's how I improved my English. So the best advice, I mean, of course, as I can think of, is something like that. And besides that, of course, there's always everything today. Whatever little bit of a good quality that I have been able to develop in my life, that I think many of the people who feels good about me, I think it's all from him. So not that I've been able to take all of his advices and practice them, but as whatever little bit I could try and follow within my capacity of understanding. I think it has helped me so much to be who I am. Whatever little bit of understanding towards Dharma is there, and I try to practice. It's all because of him, and little bit of the worldly activities that I am engaged myself into, whether that be like musical activities or my social activities and so on. I think it's all from him.
So when you look, that's amazing. When you look back at that time, do you regret now that you haven't been able to study at a university, or do you think it's fine?
Regarding that, I really don't regret at all, because in fact I understand what he meant and why he did not let me go. And somewhere deep inside, I mean, it's very clear in my mind now. There's no such thing as regret in my life now regarding Rinpoche and his whatever how he brought me up, actually, how he blessed me, and not at all, not even a single size of a hair, really. I no regret. um yeah, but there was a time when Rinpoche used to make me sit in front of him in his room and make me read Choying 1 hour in the morning, 1 hour in the
Really?
evening. Yes.
That's amazing.
And yeah, maybe you can translate what Choying is for the people.
Yeah, actually, I have the book here. It's in Jania, can you pick it up? I have it in English, so I say the correct title. It's translated in English. The blue one, yeah. It's a treasure trove of scriptural transmission. It's a book by Longchenpa that Tulku Urgyen Rinpoche always used to recite.
Yes. And as I was a kid, and I was always so eager to go out and jump around, run around, so sometimes I used to read it very fast, like Choying Rinpoche, and then but Rinpoche always insist on me to read them slowly, like Choying Rinpoche Chawa, somehow like very slowly. And I remember one day and first of all, I was late for the for the reading time. And then above that, I was reading very fast. And then Rinpoche suddenly scolded me, saying like, who the hell is, chasing you? So, who the hell is chasing you? Why you are so late today? Like naughty, you Enika, the way he used to scold, like, Enika, I will punish you if you don't behave, good, And this was much later in my life. And then one day I was very strongly scolded by him, and I was so sad, and I was crying, and as I was crying, and I was still reading the chains, and then as I was crying and crying and crying and reading and reading and reading, but suddenly I felt Rinpoche probably felt so so much sympathy. He said, come here, and then he just gave me a big hug and said, you should read this very nicely, and you should read it very much, and I promise you there will be a day. I will say this in Tibetan so that you can translate it correctly, I guess. Enika ame nima tsai jawa yapsegi chola tsagul nima sharon ame. That was the Kampa dialect that he used, where he said, yeah, would you like to?
I think better with the Kampa dialect. I didn't totally
okay.
get it, Anila, sorry.
What he meant is, like, in Kagyu lineage, the of course the highest ranking lama is Karmapa himself, and below Karmapa there are 4 regents of Karmapa: Taisiddha Rinpoche, Sharma Rinpoche, Siddhar Rinpoche, no, Siddhar Rinpoche, Sharma Rinpoche, Jamgon Kongtrul Rinpoche, and Jalsa Rinpoche. And these are the 4 regions of Tulku Karmapa in Kagyu lineage. So Jalwa Yapse, Yap and Se, you know.
Yeah.
At that time, what he meant was like there will be a day even these great masters will have to respect you. So that was like a prophecy, I guess he made. And today, either his words was either that is what it happened, or he knew what I was, where my future stands in what, you know. So he knew, I think. And that day when he spoke those words, those sentences, even though I was young, I felt like, oh my God, why Rinpoche is saying this? You know, why would Jawa Yapse have to respect someone like me? I'm, you know, like that kind of attitude I had. But then slowly in my life, I have been able to experience that I came across where His Holiness Shama Rinpoche and Sudha Rinpoche and many other masters who was so kind to show so much love and respect towards what I'm doing. And not, I would not say respect, I would say appreciation from him, acknowledgement from them of who I am today and what I'm doing. So I feel like, and I in the society, the worldly society where I stand today, as in Nepali society, people from the president to the prime minister to the beggar on the streets, they all seem to take my name with so much fondness in heart. So now I'm very clear what he meant at that time, what he said.
That's a wonderful story. Thank you so much for sharing.
My pleasure. Yeah.
And so there are a couple more questions. I hope you don't mind.
Not at all. Not at all. I will try my best to, you know, recall my experiences and share.
I think one of Tulku Urgyen Rinpoche's hallmarks was that he gave pointing out instructions so freely. Yes. But he also, at the same time, he encouraged everybody to take the 4 mind changings, the Lord of Nampashi and everything to heart, to really practice them. So how did he teach how to balance these both? You know, how would you say that he did that? Like, on the one hand,
I would not say he just gave that pointing out mind, the teachings of mind. I mean, Semchi is not to everybody who just like that, you know. Whoever came towards him requesting for that teaching, then he tried to make an effort to let them understand the teaching and the practice. And I think Rinpoche is, I'm very clear and confident of his judgment towards those students who approached him for that teaching, specific teaching. And he knew who he is teaching and what he's teaching, and whether they are capable of understanding or do the practice, at least try to practice. So it was very clear, I think. He understood who he was giving teaching to. So it's not just random, like you know, whoever is capable or not capable of giving the teaching. It's not like that, I think. He knew.
Yeah, I think that for sure. But how do you think he would still prescribe the balance between these two? Like, for instance, all the gradual teachings leading up to the Dzogchen teachings, and then the kind of essential instructions on the nature of the mind.
Well, I don't know if I stand in a position to be able to analyze that very clearly, you know, but somehow deep inside I slowly developed this confidence about Rinpoche's judgment towards whoever comes to him, approaching him for whatever kind of teaching, and whether that students are capable of understanding the depth or not. And I think Rinpoche was very skillful in understanding the depth of the teaching. So he never made his teaching sound like this is something very sacred and very difficult and so on. He made it sound like it's so easy peasy, you know, like this is the nature of mind. And then yeah, so all the students always felt comfortable, and they never really was engaged with the preconceptualized mind, thinking, oh, what we are trying to understand or to learn is something so difficult and so difficult to achieve or practice or anything. He never really made that kind of he never made the students feel like that. So probably that's why everyone felt like, oh, we received the mind teaching so easily, and so it was, from Rinpoche gave that teaching so easily. That kind of sense is probably there because of that. Otherwise, it's it's not like that as it is being interpreted, I think.
Yeah, I
Because
think.
I remember one incident, and why I'm saying this is because after I became Ani, and one of my schoolmates also wanted to become Ani, after she saw me become Ani, and I looked happy in the Nagi Gompa, and she wanted to be in Nagi Gompa too. So, and her parents sent a request to Tulku Urgyen Rinpoche about their daughter to be accepted as his student as well. But somehow he always said, no, 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 wait. Don't rush, don't rush, don't rush. He said, wait. In my case, he always said, oh, send her quickly. When are you sending? So, but with the other my schoolmate's case, he always like said several times as the request was received, he always says, oh, wait, don't rush, don't rush, don't rush. And then, as he said, she passed away.
Oh.
So it seems like Rinpoche knew about her, what was going to happen. So in that matter, as I received the time to spend with him, as now when I look back, I feel like he knew everything. I mean, and so in that matter, I think even with whoever he gave teaching of the mind, pointing out the essence of mind, I think he knew who he was teaching and who is capable and who's not capable of practicing that.
Is there any story that you would like to share with us about Tulku Urgyen Rinpoche that you think is deeply inspiring for you?
In my own practical life, I think he helped me the most is to help me free myself from the anger that I started developing since very young age towards my dad and towards the society, especially because of the patriarchy and then the biasness that I receive in treatment in my own family. Like, for instance, like my brothers are always allowed to freely play and, never had to do the dishwashing or laundries or cooking or cleaning and any of those things. But I was always expected to do all of those works. And then the way the sons were treated, the way daughter was treated, the way my mother was treated, it always developed so much anger in me slowly, which was really making me very, very aggressive and very unhappy as a child. I was growing up as to be a very unhappy person, unhappy child, and I think Rinpoche understood that frustration or the anger that I carried towards my dad, and I think he very skillfully and very with so much time he tried to help me to understand the situation. And as I remember very clearly, one day Rinpoche telling me, like, Choying, would you help someone who on this randomly on a street, someone who is in difficulty? And I said to Rinpoche, why not? Yes, of course, we have to help, right, Rinpoche? We are, as Anis, we must help. And so he asked, even though you don't know this person, would you still help? I said, yeah, Rinpoche, why not? Then I think, don't you think your father deserves your help the most?
Wow.
And then sometimes he used to ask me, is there anything good you remember you can think of your father? one day I remember very clearly, he asked me that, is there anything good about your father that you can think of? And then I started thinking, and what I came out with the answer is that, yeah, he works very hard to make money, and he always made sure that he fed us good food. I mean, good
Okay.
food in the sense of as being Tibetan, like that compass, we eat a lot of meat, yeah, yogurts, meats, and so on. So trauma and so on. So we always had good food at home. So even though guests, they would really, really enjoy the food at our house. And before I go to school, every time at home, I had to. It was a compulsory thing that I had to prepare 2 thermos full of sweet tea with really good, a lot of milk in it and sugar and all these really delicious tea. And early in the morning, I have to prepare 2 thermos full of those tea, expecting guests. But we don't know who are the guests coming, how many guests are coming. But then it was clear the guest will come, definitely come. So we must be ready to offer them good tea when they come. So my father worked really hard on those kind of things. So I shared with Rinpoche that, yeah, my father used to work very hard. So then, and then I remember another time when I was sharing with him that I was very doubtful of my dad, my biological father, whether he's really my father or not, because I remember very clearly when he used to beat me physically. I used to sense the full physical strength of this giant body, and as I was a small kid, I was so, so small, and then yet he was putting all his strength to beat me up. And the beating was almost every day or alternative day. And so it that developed some kind of a doubt in my mind whether he is really my father or not. So I remember sharing that to Rinpoche. And then I remember Rinpoche asking me after that, do you really think that he enjoyed beating you? And then I recalled, yeah, I don't think he was ever happy about beating me or my mother, because I always found him not happy too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so yeah, that's how Rinpoche always used to analyze my way of thinking especially regarding my feeling towards my father. Because my father, the experiences that I had at home with my father was something that really burnt me so much, and developed so much bitterness in me. And I used to really hate man, and somehow, and even though Tulku Urgyen Rinpoche was a man, but somehow I don't know if I ever really perceived him as a man, but he was another man in my life that really was exhibiting the best qualities of men, where I forgot that to compare my father and my teacher together. I found Tulku Urgyen Rinpoche completely another kind of a, being. Yeah, so Tulku Urgyen Rinpoche really helped me to analyze my feeling towards my father and analyze his situation, what he was going through. And as a daughter, and slowly as I was trying to understand a little bit of Dharma and what I'm supposed to do. So actually Tulku Urgyen Rinpoche really, really helped me to realize that I should show my gratitude towards my parents, and especially to my father, as he was really a victim of his own anger and his own the sickness that he was suffering with. So yeah, I slowly developed a little bit of soft corner towards my father. And whenever I went back home, I tried to start a little bit of a conversation with my dad too, not only with my mom, as I was always very comfortable with my mom, but I slowly started sharing things with my father. And then I can sense him feeling so proud of me. Whatever I was doing in Nagi Gompa, I used to share with him. And earlier I was sharing with some of my one of my friends, who asked me, "Did you really become chanting master Umze?" And I said, "Yes, I became Umze at the age of 17." And and then it was supposed to be for 1 year, you know. So during 1 year, whatever big pujas takes place, I'm supposed to lead the puja, you know, as an Umze. And I remember very clearly. So I was the first Umze, as I was first trying to lead the Drupchen in Nagi Gompa, Ngaksu Drupchen. My father came out with a gift, you know, like almost like 11, no, 110 grams of weight of gold chain, you know. So very crazy, you know. And he made that gold chain himself. He was very skilled in doing that. So, and he gave me that gold chain, and then I was so ignorantly, naively, I wore that the chain, gold chain, you know, without feeling any shame as a nun, you know. When I think of that scenario now, I feel so embarrassed, you know. But I can now interpret that as how proud my father was feeling at that time when I was performing as the Umze at the age of 17.
That's amazing. And
Yeah.
did you learn all the chants from Tulku Urgyen Rinpoche himself, or
Yes.
from Mayum, also from his wife?
To be the Umze, of course, from Tulku Urgyen Rinpoche, but as I was very, I don't know, very sharp in learning, and Mayum was also equally very eager to always teach me the melodies. And then somehow, you know, it was very kiddish actually. Now I feel like there was like a competition between Tulku Urgyen Rinpoche and Mayumla in teaching me the melody. And I very vividly remember once Mayumla, of course, is very keen on doing Chöd Puja, you know, Tsole Rinchen Trengwa. So Mayumla frequently used to invite me to her room and teach me melodies, you know, regarding how to perform Chöd. And one day I remember Tulku Urgyen Rinpoche called me to his room, and then he asked me, "What did she teach you today?" So I and I sang for him, you know, what I learned. Like Mayumla used to have a very beautiful voice, like a very feminine, you know, very
Really
beautiful voice,
beautiful.
which I will share it with you how I learned from her. She used to sing like "Che ma me ye shi khandro ma sharne kon son chen sana." This was how this is her style. And then I sang, I repeated that melody to Tulku Urgyen Rinpoche, what I learned from her, and he was like, no, don't sing like that.
So how would he
So,
correct it?
and so he would just say, "You should sing like this," and then he would just go, "Che ma me ye shi je kan ro ma sharana kom som chen sana." So this was his style. So he would say, the voice should have modulation, you know.
Okay. Both had extremely extraordinary voices, not to Kogan and Michelle.
Yes,
And,
of course,
so
of course.
amazing, so beautiful. And
Very much.
we know so little about Mayum, about Rinpoche's wife, and she was an exceptional practitioner also.
Oh,
And
great
also
practitioner.
in the Blazing Splendor, so there's hardly anything about her. So I was wondering if you have any story that you could share about her, or anything that you would like to say from her.
Well, what I remember very clearly is that Tulku Urgyen Rinpoche himself used to respect Mayumla so much. And that was not just like you know, just for the sake of just respecting her, but really, really deep sense of respect that I always felt from him towards her. and that is when she is sometime in Nagi Gompa, or she mostly spent her time in Asura. Actually, Asura place is very much developed by Mayumla and very much taken care by her, the lakang and everything. And she was so much keen on putting the practitioners into retreat and serve them.
Mm.
And I remember so clearly, and even the monks in our Bodha monastery, she would be so caring for all the monks. And she always used to make sure that we are fed well, and we're taken cared well. So yeah, and sometime I remember in Nagi Gompa, sometime when as I was slowly grown up, and there were occasions when Tulku Urgyen Rinpoche used to find some reason to scold me. Then Mayum would cover me up, saying, "Oh
Really?
no, no, Rinpoche, you're wrong. Choying is okay. She's good. She will not do anything wrong." She would, like a really protective mother.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I mean, besides that, I don't know how I can really describe her qualities, because I don't have enough words. And I spend most of my time with Tulku Urgyen Rinpoche, but whatever little bit of a time that I have had opportunity to spend time with her, she was so kind and so generous, generous. And and I remember in her last stage of her life, when Tingku Chinsa Rinpoche came to pay his respect to her, actually in our monastery. And then they had a very secret conversation, privately. And afterwards, I heard Chinsa Rinpoche, somebody told me who's close to Chinsa Rinpoche, and Chinsa Rinpoche told them that, well, I don't know about any others, but the real Khandroma is her,
Oh,
and so
yeah,
you
I
can
remember.
imagine. Yeah.
Yeah, she was really extraordinary.
Very much.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's getting late, but I have two short questions.
Don't worry. Don't worry.
So you're yourself a member of the Triple Excellence team, and also the voice of the Taoist Triple Excellence program in Nepali. And Tulku Urgyen Rinpoche gave all the empowerments and transmissions of this Dharma. Do you remember receiving it? And
I mean, I don't. Of course, I received all the empowerments that Tulku Urgyen Rinpoche ever gave in Nagi Gompa, except the Rinchen Tenzu. Choglin Tersa, of course, everything, and Joan Jetsa, all, and all the other, Wangs and all these things. I don't recall exactly specifically as a triple excellence, but now when I think about it, I'm very clear that I did receive all the initiations and so on,
that's so
which is
fun.
of course the later on repeatedly from our to Chögyam Rinpoche as well. Yeah, so as I'm giving the voice in Nepali, as I was doing all the recordings, it's amazing how it has really helped me also personally very much. So I feel so fortunate that I received the opportunity to really at least serve Dharma in such way as well.
We are so fortunate to have you. Really, it's such an inspiration.
Thank you.
Do you feel that the Triple Excellence Dharma practice is particularly beneficial and effective for this particular time? Because they say these days,
I mean,
especially Tara practice is extremely important also, because for all the elements are out of balance, and the Tara especially.
let me share my own personal experience. Like as I was, of course, the first the excellence. Of course, I went through all, and there were times when I was actually recording. I became very, very emotional, and And especially when there were times of explaining the hell realms, you know, how the experience would be, how vividly it describes the experiences of the hell experience of. And there were times when I really couldn't control my emotion, you know, and then how fortunate we are. And then, and especially in the second excellence about loving kindness and compassion part, you know, and that time I was exactly going through a time when I needed that the most, you know. Like I recently I had a, not recently, like as last since last 2.5 years I was going through a struggle regarding I run a dialysis center. I take care of people who are suffering with the kidney failure, and the dialysis service is something that really helps them to clean their blood. And that organization is established in the memory of my mother, you know, in as a dedication of my merit towards her for her kindness. And the other members in the organization, there were especially some specific kind of people who I realized that their motive being in this organization was very much driven by their very much like wrong intention, you know. So I faced some conflict of interest with them. So, and as I was very disappointed and angry, but at the same time I was trying, of course, my best way to deal with it in a skillful manner, but somehow there were occasions when I was very much provoked and was feeling like, why, you know, like why are they like this? And when we have established this organization to serve, means it's to serve, it's not for personal gain and financial, it's not for our individual financial gain and so on. Why they're, you know, like cheating kind of, you know, I was very much struggling with my emotion. And then, and especially when I was going through that, when I was reading, recording the loving kindness, compassion part, and how the visualizational process of how, you know, we should go. And I was so into it. And there were so many very frequent occasion where I really literally realize that I'm thankful towards them, that they gave me such a, they provoked me to the level of such intensity of my anger and the disappointment towards them made me feel so painful that, and equally I was very intensively trying to practice the loving kindness and compassion. And every time I did go through the process of visualization of loving kindness and compassion towards them, visualizing their face, and then, you know, wishing them all the happiness and the causes of happiness and so on, I literally felt that the burning fire being like pacified, and that soothing feeling of, you know, having the fire put down, as you can imagine. And I felt so good, so good. And it really helped me to get through it without having to develop hatred. Yes, I had to deal with them still continuously, but in a manner that as a responsibility, I have to do this, but without being driven by hatred or anger. You know, as being the chairperson of this organization, I have to take responsibility of its transparency and its legal procedures and we need to fulfill, you know. And in order to do that, I needed to face them in a harsh way. But I was very clear in my mind that it is not being driven by anger and hatred towards them. So I was able to really, really be clear of my own emotional stage. And very frequently, of course, there were times again slipped and like this, and then suddenly, oh no, yeah, and then I very clearly visualized their face, and then I felt like, oh, poor people, like they're so, they're driven by such kind of a very ignorant motive, and driven by greed, which is so unfortunate for them. But yet I always was able to continuously dedicate lots and lots of compassion towards them, and to carry them in my aspiration for them to be free from all the sufferings and all the disappointments that they're experiencing from me, and because I'm opposing them a lot in what they did. And so I wish them to really have their anger also pacified as I'm experiencing. So yeah, the intensity that I went through of the disappointment and the anger at that time, I really received so much of help as I was going through the triple excellence, especially the second excellence. So yeah.
Thanks so much for sharing. Then the last concluding question is there any advice that you would like to give the participants of the Triple Excellence program worldwide? Since there's so many participants present today, what kind of hard advice would you like to give them?
Well, I mean, I'm quite sure all of you are all very, very intelligent people, and it's very much educated. And it's not like in Nepal that some of us, we might be following just out of our blind faith towards it. But of course, many of the Western students who are really into triple excellence practices, literally you're studying it, you are trying to understand it, and then you are trying to soak yourself into it. And of course, it seems like sometimes we do get carried away by just like, oh yeah, I know this is it, how it is. And the teaching what we receive is like, a lot of the time it seems like get stuck only in our head. We don't sometimes we fail to really bring it into our heart. So until and unless the practice is really able to come to our heart and really, really process in it with our experience in everything that we do, I don't know if it will really bring the ultimate benefit that as we are supposed to receive. And don't just simply try to stuck everything in your head only. And just having that only in your head, I think it will just make us very good in talking about it. But in order to really bring the benefit in our day-to-day life, I think you should apply by bringing it from your head to your heart first, and then apply the method as different experiences that you go through in life, as I did. The disappointment, the anger that I was so much provoked by these wonderful people that I have had in my life. Now I call them my the friends, the Kalyan Mitras, like the benefactors. Yeah, my spiritual benefactors. And these days, I think because of the COVID as well, because I don't have to travel so much and I have so much time to be in my own place and be in my room myself. I have so much time. And so I've been trying to be a little bit more diligent as in my practice. So it really gave me a lot of time to do a lot of introspection, not in terms of just as a formal, with the formality of doing practice as a Dharma practice, or my practice session is now, it starts now and it ends ends at this time. No, but just generally, as every emotion that I go through, sometimes, of course, there are times when you feel so lazy. Sometimes you feel so carried away by different things, and so whatever emotional challenges that I came across, I was able to always do a little bit of introspections and analyze my own emotion and my experiences, and then make a judgment, and then whenever I feel a little difficulty to deal with it, then I always try to apply the method that I as we receive as a teaching from Rinpoche's or from Triple Excellence, especially, of course. And so I think it is very, very crucial to not to forget to apply these practices, I mean these teachings, into our daily life, and really be smart to take the benefit of it, be able to take the advantage of receiving the benefit of it. So I don't know if I really am in the position to be able to give any advice, but I personally, what I experience is something like that. And as we practitioners, we have to be very, very true to ourselves, I think. you know
Yeah,
if
that's
we
very
try
true.
to cheat ourselves, then that will be the most unfortunate thing.
Mhm.
And more I'm realizing that in my life, and I'm trying my best to not to cheat or lie to
That's,
myself.
yeah. Thank you so much for this inspiring hour with you. That was really fantastic. I hope you'll have
It's
time
an
again.
honor. I mean, I'm very happy that I was able to share some of my experience with Tulku Urgyen Rinpoche, and it's an honor that I can share this with you all, who are really very fortunate and very blessed to have the opportunity to really receive this teaching on triple excellence and such a easy access through internet. For, of course, thanks to Heidi, my Dakini Heidi,
Come on,
my
we
most
have a
beautiful
huge
friend.
team. We have a please stop it, stop it. We have a huge,
I
wonderful team.
I will just reveal this in this platform, that the most beautiful friend
Come
that
on,
I have is Heidi. She's so beautiful, not
come
just
on,
simply
shut up.
as outlook, but she's as a person also. So I hope. Why is she hiding her
Come on.
face? So and more I'm clear that Mother Tara will be blessing us all, and of course through Heidi it has been able to really, and her team, a very, very active team, of course.
And
We should
Lama
be very
Tenzin.
grateful to them. And Lama Tenzin, of course, is there, our real Dharma brother, who has been a real inspiration and guidance to all of us. So yeah, so we should really, really feel grateful towards them. And I'm so blessed that I could give the voice in Nepali, and the some of the feedbacks that I receive makes me so good, and makes me feel so good, and I feel so truly blessed. And of course, above all, it's our Tulku Urgyen Rinpoche's blessing that really is carried as the masters of lineage that they follow, and we are now part of that lineage as well. So let's all pray that we continuously be very clean and clear in our connection and our lineage, and especially in our practice to
Thank you
carry
so
on.
much. Thank you. Bronwyn, would you like to say still some concluding remarks, or should we ask Anila to dedicate now?
Oh, thank you, Heidi. Yes, I would love to give a little announcement, but I just want to thank you so much, Annie Choying. That was very, very special. So we're going to be hosting an online retreat on the weekend of January 8th through to January 10th. And it's going to be a combination of teachings and meditation practices on the topics of loving kindness and compassion in the context of the Tara Triple Excellence Terma. So this retreat is going to be a perfect opportunity, not only for beginners, but also the participants of the Tara Triple Excellence Terma, just to acquaint themselves with their intrinsic qualities of loving kindness and compassion, And strengthening our confidence in our own basic goodness is a vital part of the Buddhist path. So we're going to put 2 links in the Zoom chat window. And the first is to the webpage that's going to have a bit more of a fuller description of the retreat. And then the second is going to give you a place to add your email address if you would like us to send you more details as they become available. And of course, we're going to put the information on the Tara Triple Excellence Facebook page as well in the near future. So thank you very much. And we'd love, Annie Choying, we'd love you to sing the dedication prayer.
Okay, before we sing the dedication prayer, of course, I would like to request all of you actually, I would like to sing Tusum Sanje as my prayer to our beloved Guru Choying Rinpoche, you know, to live longer so that he can bless us and in our practice. So I want to sing Tusum Sanje, and please join me, all of you. You know, please think of Rinpoche, and please pledge him to live long for us, for all the sentient beings, longer. Tusum Sanje Goro Rambo Chenguru Kanda Deva Chembusha Pareche Kunsedundo Traibo Sasondepso Chinjilamduso Chena Sanwe Parinchi Shewa Tasambalanje Drobar Chinje Urgyen Rinpoche la so ande Galchen Parche Minjosh Tunjin Samban Rubada Chodan Tumang Rupsal Doso Paldiname Kutsitemba da Kanyamyanga Dejin Jungala Dajimalo Sosa Dribjam Nurdu Sanji Salam Sonamde Tamjizibana Tabnini Vedanam Panja Jigana Jibalab Trubai Sibit Solendro Water Show. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, Anila. Thank you.
Please stay safe as we are going through this very special experience of fear because of the COVID thing. So